So when we think about teaching the next generation, how early do you think we should start having those conversations about money, credit, and opportunity?
Man, I might get in trouble for this answer. I always tell people, how can you teach something you don't know?
Mm,
And so, because you wouldn't quit your job prematurely if you really knew. You would make sure that you have good credit. You would understand the value of mentorship. You would like I always tell people, financial literacy is only financial literacy to people who understand the language of finance.
yeah.
So if you don't understand the language of finance, how can you spew financial literacy to your child? You know, why are you working hard and you're not acquiring any assets? You're putting your children at a disadvantage. Do you have anything to pass down to your heir? And for so many quote unquote entrepreneurs, they don't. My son don't want my outfits and so how can I really position my son so he sees a true example of quote unquote financial literacy? So in September, I closed on a 4-unit building. My son is part owner of that building.
Yeah.
He now owns a piece of real estate. And so I'm teaching him through execution, not just pumping words into his head. Because half the time when they're a teenager, they ain't paying attention to us anyway, but they pay attention to the actions. And
Yeah.
so now when my son gets 18, he's going to be able to understand a little bit better once he's able to actually take advantage of what I put him in position to do. And so I was having a talk with him about 2 weeks ago, and I said, son, do you know you're gonna have a head start in life? I said, you're a nepo baby. And he said, what is that? I said, I'm giving you an advantage based upon what I have, what I'm in position to do. And I said, okay, so I got out my whiteboard and I drew out, I said, okay, we bought the building at this price point. By the time you're 18, it should be valued at X. And so let's say you pulled $100,000 from this building. You're going to be able to use this 100,000 for three different things. One, if you decide to go to college, you can use this $100,000 to pay for your college tuition, and you're not going to have to pay it back. The property pays for it. And if something happened, he can at least discharge that debt in a bankruptcy versus getting money from Sally Mae or whoever it is. You can't discharge that. Or two, let's say he wants to start a business. He now has $100,000 that he can borrow from his property and start a business, and he doesn't have to worry about trying to rob Peter to pay Paul to
Right.
invest in Billy, so he can start a business that may not ever get off the ground because he doesn't have access to enough money.